For being here. This is the Gary Sanitary District meeting. Today is Friday, May 16th. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we'll have roll call to establish a quorum.
Commissioner William Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Ola Morris, Commissioner Maurice Maybon,
Present.
Commissioner Frida Graves, Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.,
Present.
Executive Director Reagan Hatcher, Finance Manager Jerome Foster.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
With 4 commissioners present and 1 absent, we do have a quorum. Next, we'll move on to certification. And I'll read into the record pursuant to Indiana law, section 5-14-1.5-6.1. I certify that prior to the start of today's meeting, there was an executive session held and there was nothing discussed in that session that was not indicated on the posted notice. That being in compliance with Indiana statutes, there were no final votes held during the executive session. Does any commissioner dissent? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. This is for the wastewater utility improvements preliminary engineering report. Looks like we have Commonwealth coming to the stage. And just take it away with an overview.
Wonderful, thank you. Amy's passing out a presentation for each of you. It's just a copy of the slides that'll be presented here on the screens. I guess, Mr. Harris, would you like us to open the public hearing before we start?
Please do.
Okay, well, would you like them to take a vote on that, or just?
Oh, no, it's
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, it's open. I don't think they need
Okay,
to vote just to
perfect.
open the public hearing.
All
You
right,
can
very
proceed.
good. As long as we're open and started?
Yes, we're open.
We'll go ahead. Thank you. So this is a public hearing that is required by the Indiana Finance Authority, SRF, for the wastewater utility improvements feasibility and preliminary engineering report that was completed. This public hearing is intended to discuss and explain the results of that report and what will be submitted to the IFA SRF. My name is Andrew Robarge with Commonwealth Engineers. I'm an office manager and project manager. I have an associate of mine here, Jeremy Hardy, as well, who will be helping me with the presentation. And we also have several of our engineers here who participated in the assembly of this report. There are several sections we'll go through. One is the background, the other is the need for the project, and then recommended projects as a part of this specific PER. The first part, the background, we'll talk about the wastewater treatment plant and the CSO LTCP. Then we'll move into the specifics of the items and components that are in this report. And then we will finalize this discussion with a brief overview of the cost estimate and the project schedule associated with the same. So first, we'll go into the background. We're showing construction of the treatment plant occurring in 1940 with a major plant expansion in 1973. Currently, we can handle a peak or an average daily flow of 60 MGD and a peak of 120 MGD. We have challenges with violations due to aging system components, and primarily what this report is dealing with is addressing several of those items that are aging or have reached the end of their useful life, we'll say. For the collection system, GSD manages a very extensive collection system, 395 miles of combined sewers and 12 CSOs. That's a large system to manage, and the challenges with that system are achieving compliance with the CSO or combined sewer overflow long-term control plan. We're looking at a compliance goal of 6 overflows or less per typical year for each of the outfall locations. All of the outflow locations are shown here, and in addition to managing this system, The GSD is also responsible for receiving flow from several client communities that has to pass through this system. You may say, from the long-term control plan standpoint, where are we at and what is that? Well, this PER is actually part of that long-term control plan. We've been, over the last, say, about 12 months or so, meeting very regularly with the EPA, IDEM, Department of Justice, to talk about this long-term control plan. The long-term control plan is intended to bring us to that 6 overflow per typical year compliance point. And this is basically the first step in that. The consent decree is what drives this long-term control plan. That occurred March 19th of 2018. There was an alternatives report that was submitted and accepted August of 2019 by the DOJ and the EPA. This wastewater treatment plant feasibility study was completed in March. We're holding the public hearing for that document now. And we have a CSO LTCP submittal to the EPA DOJ that is due in July of this year. We have provided them with an advanced copy of that document for review and comment so that we can incorporate their comments into our final submittal to them in July. But that is what is driving this project, is that long-term control plan. So this work is required work to meet that long-term control plan. What we did and some of the revisions that we put into this, and the reason we're here today talking about this, is because we changed the approach a little bit with respect to the treatment plant. What we've done is we've identified projects that we feel and the GSD staff feel allow us to have a dual benefit. We have the benefit of meeting the long-term control plan, and at the same time, we have the benefit of being able to address some of our challenges that we have at the treatment plant here at the same time. And so that dual benefit is what we've tried to address and tried to make sure is incorporated within this PER and the feasibility study so that we can most effectively utilize the dollars that we have available, or the dollars that we need to spend. With respect to the implementation schedule, which is the next slide, we had a draft schedule that we put together for some of this work related to the long-term control plan. What we are looking at is this second bullet here, wastewater treatment plant Division B, Part 1. That is starting in April of 2025 and ending in March of 2028. That is this report and the improvements associated with it. There are 2 more phases at the treatment plant in Division B, and then there's also a Division C, as well as the rest of the long-term control plan that is system related. I will turn it over to Jeremy to talk about the need for the project.
Good afternoon. So we'll dive right in here. Again, my name is Jeremy Hardy, and I'm out of our South Bend office. Similar role as Andrew out of his Crown Point office manager, project manager. One of the first components of Part 1 of Division B is with respect to the headworks. Currently, we've got 2 bar screens out of 4 that's inoperable, out of service for the most part. And then from a capacity standpoint, tying in the long-term control plan, there will be a model update, but the current model, we were able to use that to figure out, hey, we need about 162 MGD of throughput through the facility with screening. You got about 133 MGD right now. So 2 parts, upgrade aging infrastructure and get the capacity. With the waste activated sludge, so this is come a point in time when you have too much sludge in the system, you need to get rid of it. So current pumping conditions are limited, and then for thickening, just so that you're not processing too much, it's not very cost effective to do that. So by thickening it, you can reduce your overall treatment cost. It's a very variable system, so where there's very little control of how you're feeding the system. There's a nice optimal point in which if you had some better control, you'd be able to have some better treatment and better results. improving just operations and then cost in general. With the anaerobic digesters, these have been out here for quite a while. So from the date here, 1940, 1972, one of the 8 tanks out there was repaired, ultimately built within the structure itself. There was some overfilling that occurred that created damage to a large majority of the digesters. Number 3 and 5 are the primary digesters. They've been out of service for more than 20 years. And through our calculations, we found we need about 4 primary digesters in operation, currently 3 at this point. And then overflow piping, so, when you do have an overfilling kind of occurring, that system's been clogged because of that event. And then the gas handling system currently just gases to the atmosphere. The flame no longer works for ventilation. And then overall, just poor operations between the 3 digesters. Temperatures vary between all 3 of them. Solids content varies, so I just need to get that more in line as you go digester to digester. The sludge dewatering system, again, varying conditions. So as you may assume, if one thing's not working right, it just kind of snowballs. So the sludge content coming into the belt filter presses varies, but equipment's not set up to adjust dosage with your polymer to help get the separate the water to return that back to the plant. So sometimes you get a high solids loading back to the treatment head of the plant. Good news is some polymer that's been piloted has worked out pretty good. So ultimately, foreshadowing is kind of look at using that moving forward. Recommended projects. So with the headworks, I will mention recently there's discussion of replacing all 4 bar screens while in the process of replacing 2 of them. So that's going to be a small change there. In the future, the goal is to push as much as possible through the plant to maximize what you have available, which we believe that's about 130 MGD. So that would be a permanent modification in the future as well. So this will set up for handling what's actually coming from the collection system. And then there's other parts that handle that wet weather once it is pumped out between treatment, storage, a combination of both. Part 1 of the digester, so there's a full scale with the digesters itself, but just from a cost perspective, SRF has a kind of a cap of traditional funds. So part 1, 2, and 3 is to maximize that cap, essentially. Better interest rates, and within that you get opportunities at their loan forgiveness based on demographics. So first part is we want to get a good aspect of all the digesters, but we need to rehab one of them to be able to take the other ones offline. So during construction, ultimately, once that's online, start taking the other digesters offline, inspect those, and then better plan for future rehab. And then within the tunnel system, properly inspect, make sure all piping is up to code to plan for those future projects. So we kind of have a budgetary right now for future projects, but this will give us a better handle of part 2 and 3. With respect to the WAS pumping, so getting that out of the system and processing that, the goal here is to create like a holding well, so then we can actually dose at a constant rate through the gravity belt thickener, and then ultimately add a secondary. Currently, you only have one, so if it's out of service, you're on borrowed time, essentially. So the goal is to get some redundancy in the system. This should help ultimately with your polymer usage as well. And then for your dewatering, sludge dewatering, again, I mentioned there's already a pilot testing of some polymer that's working out pretty well, but it's only isolated to one setup per press. So the goal here is to get it set up to feed all presses and set up with automation. There's a small adder to be able to do that, so conditions always vary, so it's nice to have that flexibility and not have to have somebody turn a knob every time things change. It's more reactive. Cost for Division B, Part 1, with projects of headworks improvements, the digesters, thickening process, the dewatering process, all together with some contingencies. This doesn't include anything with tariffs. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but with BABA requirements likely to be included on the project, we got contingencies. Construction costs should be about $20 million, is what's estimated, in addition to some soft costs. Total project cost would be just under $25 million. That's the projected project schedule. So the application is for the fiscal year 2025 through 26. Their fiscal calendar is July 1 through June 30th. So the goal would be is to get projects ready to be out to bid, receive those bids, and close on financing by around this time or just a little later next year. In August is when you'd ultimately find out what's the offering, and you'll ask the question, can you meet this Q3, Q4? They'll answer those questions before they make commitments. So right now, it's just assuming that it's all going to go well. And with that, we'll entertain any questions.
At this time, we're going to ask if there's any public comment. Does anyone from the public want to come up in regards to the project and have any questions or comment? Okay, any questions from the commissioners?
I did have one question. I think you mentioned holding wells. Can you define what a holding well is?
Oh, yeah. So in your old DAF building, where the gravity belt thickener is like right now, you have 3 or 6 tanks that aren't being used, well, except for one. What's being filtered out is being held in one of the tanks. We would just convert one of those tanks to be used for basically a glorified wet well. So then at a certain level, it can vary, but you can maintain your speed of pumps so that you can hit that optimal point for the gravity belt thickener. Meanwhile, the other gravity belt thickener that's going to go in will also use one of those empty tanks. So I think after this project, 2 tanks will be remaining available for use. So we're reusing existing tankage that's just sitting there vacant.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay. At this time, we will close the public hearing for the, and I'll just read the title for the project into the record, for the wastewater utility improvements preliminary engineering report. Okay, so thank you. You guys are good. So our previous meetings, we've adjusted the order of the agenda. We'll do the same today, and we'll push up the public speaking portion. At the previous meetings, we did have the executive director come up and give like a quick overview, since most of the items that were brought before us tend to deal with liens.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. Yes, and this has been an ongoing issue for about a month now. When I came in as executive director in January, and I'm sorry for the people who have heard this spiel before, but when I came in, we had a State Board of Account audit that basically, one of the issues that they had was that we had a number of outstanding bills. And as we talked through that with them and indicated that the board had written off some of this debt, they indicated to us that per state law, we have 3 years to put liens on these properties or to notify the owners of the liens. So we went back and started looking at different accounts back to 2022, and because that's how far back we could go per state law and per the State Board of Accounts, and made a determination as to whether these accounts could be liened or not. There's a couple Indiana codes that regulate this, but basically what they said is that you have to send notice so many days after the account is disconnected, and then after that, you have up to 3 years to file the intent to lien or to send notice of the intent to lien. So in April, we sent out liens for 2022. May, we sent out liens for 2023. And next month, June or end of June, beginning of July, we'll be sending out lien notices for 2024. After we are caught up with these notices and requirements to collect funds from older accounts, we'll be caught up to 2025, and we'll continue this process on from there. Unlike NIPSCO and unlike the Indiana Water Company, municipally owned wastewater treatment facilities, those bills run with the property and not necessarily with the person whose name the account is under. If you have called in and you've spoken with our customer service department, our department is there to help. If this is a bill that was accrued prior to you becoming the owner, if you provide proof of this, we're able to adjust the account. And I wanted to keep it short because I really don't see any new faces in the audience. I suspect that the people who are here are going to speak either way. So if you do want to speak with a customer service representative, we have our head of customer service in the hallway, Janelle Carter. She will be there to answer any questions that you have regarding your account, regarding payment, or how to pay. If not, I think, Mr. President, maybe you could just open it up for people to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, the first one being Sandy O'Brien.
And as our first speaker goes up to the podium, if you could please state your name and your address. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful of the board and the audience that's present. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Sandy O'Brien. My address is 5500 South Liverpool Road, about a mile from Glen Park's edge. And I've been taking care of nature in the city for, 10 years or so. And I was taking care of the Gary Sanitary District's wetland mitigation. And I sent a letter to Reagan Hatcher, the executive director, and to you, Will Allen, president of the board, about this by email. So, and I have a copy of the letter too. In any case, I was taking care of it between 2017 and 2023, paid by Gary Sanitary District to make sure it passed the approval of whoever had to approve it, as a mitigation being successful. And then I took care of it for the years after it. But when Dan Vicari left GSD, then I wasn't paid to take care of it anymore last year, but I had enough money in the Marquette Park budget, so I took care of it. So it needs invasive species care every year to make sure that they don't come back and get really bad again, like they were in the beginning. So I took care of it on the parks money last year, but this year there is no money for me to take care of it with the parks because they had a $100,000 deficit. So I'm asking you for a relatively minimal amount of money, up to $1,500. And if it doesn't take that much money, you would pay less, just at $30 an hour plus supplies at cost. Because the things that need to be done are purple loosestrife and spraying re-sprouts of woody invasives after the controlled burn this winter, and purple loosestrife, Phragmites, and reed canary grass. So we want it to look good for Marquette Park, and Marquette Park is not doing anything to degrade it. Their invasive species have been kept up, so it's a matter of you keeping up your side too. This is 4 acres of mitigation wetland on the east side of Grand Boulevard. You know where the lagoon is? It's on the other side of Grand Boulevard from the lagoon. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you,
Just
Ms.
hope you do
O'Brien.
something and it's timely, because it's time to do the work now. And if you don't do it now, it can be too late.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. If you could just hang around for a bit, maybe we could chit-chat outside. Thank you.
The next person we have is Attorney Darnell Isles.
afternoon, board members. Attorney Harris, Executive Director Reagan Hatcher. I emailed Ms. Lee a packet of the laws that I would talk about today and asked her to distribute that to the board, the lawyer, and Ms. Hatcher. I don't know if that's been done. I don't see it in front of you. But either way, I sent it, okay? I don't think much of the position that Ms. Hatcher is taking about the State Board of Accounts. They can't tell you to break the law, right? She doesn't say they're under the lien statute, it's homeowners. Then there's an exception for if you own a house and you rent it. That's 32C. That says only if 60 days delinquent, within 20 days you notify the owner, can you put a lien. Now, 60 days doesn't mean give me a letter a year or 2 years or more after the tenant is gone. It is not my fault that the district does not use the collection efforts that are listed in the statute, one of which is very strong. It says the board shall give a notice to the local water company that provides service to that house, right? And indicate if they haven't followed the payment pattern, the water company is to shut that water off. It goes on to say, if the water company doesn't shut it off, they pay the bill. Did you know that? How come we don't use it? Now, if people who rented one of my houses or anybody else's house don't pay the bill, the statute says you can only if you give the owner a notice 2 months after delinquency. There's people here getting bills for $6,000, $9,000, thousands of dollars. That could not possibly be a 2-month bill for your sanitary service, right? So just that alone, you haven't complied with the statute. And what I'm going to say is, I got a few of those letters. You can send me some for 24 or 25. I'm not paying a dime. I don't owe the money. I didn't get the service, right? And I'm not going to pay for somebody else's bill. Let me tell you something else. If you had sent my company a notice 60 days after delinquent, right? 60-day delinquent, you send me that notice within 20 days, I still have the tenant. I can call the tenant and say, hey, which is what we do now.
That's time, attorney.
You got to pay your sanitary bill. Tenant's long gone now. You chase them for the money. That's what the statute says you could do. Chase the tenant for the money, not the owners. Because what's going to happen is, if you persist in this, we're going to file a lawsuit. We just won't be extorted. This is extortion. Thank you.
The next person we have is John Allen.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
I echo all the sentiments of Attorney Lyles and what he just said, so I'm not going to waste time. I'm just going to go straight to the statute and read at 36-923-32. C, except as otherwise provided in the provision included in an ordinance under Section 25F3 of this chapter, a lien attaches against real property occupied by someone other than the owner only if, and the words mean something, only if the utility notifies the owner no later than 20 days after the time the utility fees become 60 days delinquent. So I think that's self-explanatory. I have no problem with the collection of money that's left on the table. I'm an advocate for that. Lord knows we need it, right? But maybe we should revisit this and comb through those outstanding bills a little better. That way, it's some we can eliminate and some we can prioritize. These without the 20-day notice or 60, or not within the 60 days, they're very iffy, but definitely something more than a year, 6 months, 3 years. They should be disqualified for consideration of collection. I, too, talk to a lot of my peers, and I deal with a lot of property management people in real estate, And collectively, there are people entertaining the idea of retaining counsel, doing a class action over the issue. I don't want to see tax dollars wasted over that. I have personal experience in it. I'm an advocate for my side of the aisle, but I really think we need to resolve this internally before it mushroom off into something else, right? Secondly, I'm also of the opinion that, of the knowledge that some of these bills are in names that some of the landlords never leased to. They're in third-party names that was never in the lease contract. So I go back to what Attorney Lyle said again. A third party can't just simply tell you to break the law. If it's in a lease that the tenant agreed to pay the bill, we can seek to enforce that lease if we get proper notice. If we don't get notice, we can't even seek to enforce our own leases. So this is not an issue of blame or fault. This is an issue of all of us collectively just doing this a little better and differently that we can meet the same goals. All right, I thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Mr. Damian Lee. So I don't see that person.
Mr. Lee?
Next, we have Mr. Ron Matlock.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon.
This is not my first time, and it probably won't be my last time coming here. And I think Attorney Darnell Lyles said it all. I had talked to the former director of this center, Dr. Marion Williams. He talked about a user fee. And I don't know if y'all know what that means. I'm not using anything. I happen to be a landlord, okay? And Attorney Harris, we have talked, and we were supposed to take care of that. But I came to your office, and I guess you sort of shut the door in my face, okay? But we won't go there, okay? I did tell you that sometime when I have a tenant, and I say to the water company, when someone come to say they need to have a lease, because what happened, they will let their boyfriend come and change it, and then I don't know anything about this. So I'm getting these bills, and it's upsetting to me. It's very upsetting me, and I don't want to go and call out anybody's name, but I thought I'd call you out, Attorney Harris, and you told me you would fix it. You're aware of it, but you never got back to me. Now, I didn't come down here, so I went to your office because I couldn't find you down here, but I see you here. You could run, but you can't hide, Attorney Harris. Like Joe Frazier said to Muhammad Ali, you can run, but you can't hide. And I'm just simply saying that right now, these people, they know the system. They know how to work the system. Trust me, and you know they do. They work the system. And I hate to say it if any of y'all from Chicago, but they know it better than anybody. You know, they say, well, if I don't pay it, I just move in the middle of the night. In other words, why would someone, in other words, they told me, say, well, we can't cut this stuff off. It's in winter. I said, well, how did the bill, how much is this bill? Say $900. It didn't happen just in the wintertime. It happened in probably 100-degree weather, you know. So, and you're aware of it, but you let me down, Attorney Jewel Harris Jr. You let me down, and you let this community down, the type of stuff that you're doing. It's unfair. I gave you even the address that they went to back to Illinois. Now, why didn't you go for your money there? You didn't do that. You wanted to come back to me because you got a job. That's what you do, and you get paid for it. Thank you very much.
I believe Damian Lee is back.
I guess I'm outraged like everybody else is. I own a property in Etna, and I get a notice saying I owe $2,300 or a lien's going to be placed on my house. When I called the water company, I found out that this happened back in 2023. One, Why would you let my tenants turn off the water, which is what you guys showed me, turn off the water, turn the water back on in another name for the same property, and then try to stick me with a bill without letting me know before it got that high? No way in the world could a family of 3 use that much water in a short amount of time. But no one bothered to let me know until you decided, hey, we want our money. I didn't know about it. You give me 3 weeks to come up with $2,300 and then threaten me with a lien. It would have been better if you let me know earlier, or at least not let the tenants be so underhanded, turn off the water in the house, then turn it back on in somebody else's name, knowing that there's a $2,300 bill there back in 2023. So this was 2 years ago. And I'm just finding out about it in May, and then I'm told that, okay, you need to pay this amount in May. Why didn't you go after the tenant back then or turn off the water? Or at least let me know earlier before the bill climbed that high? It didn't make any sense. It's like you're throwing us under the bus when you weren't really doing your job and letting the homeowners know at that point before it got outrageous to say, hey, something's going on in your house. You need to take a look at it. So it's unfair. It's totally unfair. So I feel like I'm being made the scapegoat because you allowed my tenants to get away with it and then allowed them to turn the water off and turn it back on in somebody else's name.
The last person is Mr. Vernell Bethel.
You can come around the front if it's a shorter walk.
Good afternoon to the board.
Good afternoon.
I'm also a landlord that owns several properties in Gary, Indiana. And unfortunate, one of my houses at 1610 West 19th Avenue was rented out to a lady named Miss Alexander, which she left there on a bill of $681.54. Okay, so my question is, y'all send off shut-off notices after 1 month if people don't pay their bill. And I was told that the water company had a problem, and she had to live there at least 1.5 years without paying any kind of sanitation bill. But they sent me a letter telling me that they're going to put a lien against my property if I don't pay it. I didn't use the service. You know, y'all corresponds with the water company to shut people's water off. And you may tell me it took them over 1.5 years to get around to shutting the water off after she accumulated a bill of $681. And then they cut it off after it got up to $681. I had to go down there and get it put in my name, and it's still in my name. And she's been gone away from there right at 3 years. And they just not sending me a letter telling me that I need to pay this $681. And I don't think it's fair. You should go after the person that used it. At my house, I pays my bill every month. But how do y'all let a person get away with 1.5 years without paying a sanitation bill? Thank you.
Are there more requests to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, next on the agenda brings us to the minutes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the executive session and regular meetings of May 2nd, 2025.
Motion's been made for approval of minutes for the executive session and regular meeting for May 2nd. Is there a second? A motion's been made and properly second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Graves. Commissioner Maybon.
Yes.
Commissioner Morris. Yes. Commissioner Allen.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the minutes for the May 2nd meetings have been approved. Next brings us to new business. We have 2.1. This is payroll. Mr. Foster?
Thank you. I make a motion to approve GSD payroll earnings for period ending April 7, 2025 through April 20th, 2025 in the amount of $264,733.22.
We have an overview and recommendation for acceptance for payroll earnings in the amount of $264,733.22. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for acceptance, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call for payroll.
Commissioner Graves? Yes. Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, payroll for the period ending April 7th of this year to April 20th of this year. Sorry. In the amount of $264,733.22 has been approved. Next, we have 2.2. Executive Director. We have 2.2, sorry, the Jets are still going. Yep.
I think one more step down.
Okay. Thank you for the overview. With that being said, what is the pleasure of the board?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 2.2? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Graves? Yes. Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2.2 has been approved. Next, we have 2.3. This is a contract between the Gary Sanitary District and Forest Lawn Landfill, Inc.
Yes, this is a new leachate customer for Gary Sanitary District. This agreement is for a minimal amount of leachate to come from a closed closed landfill to the Gary Sanitary District. Just for full disclosure, this company is a subsidiary of Republic.
Okay, thank you for the overview. What is the pleasure of the board?
I just had a question before we moved on. This particular contract creates an additional revenue stream, correct?
That's correct. This is in addition to what currently exists.
And the upwards level is?
Like
$350,000 a year.
All right, well, what is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly second for 2.3. Any other discussion? I have one quick question. This is an annual agreement, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's until,
Yeah, it's until either party, well, it's until either we close it or the landfill runs out of leachate. So it's a annual agreement, but eventually they will run out. Just don't know when that will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please, for 2.3.
Commissioner Graves? Yes. Commissioner Maybon?
yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2.3 has been approved. Next, we have 2.4.
2.4, we're asking that it should be tabled. I'm sorry, no, that's 2.5. 2.4, a motion to approve and award. So this is our security cameras for the plant. We're missing cameras in the warehouse and in other locations throughout the plant, and asking that this be approved so we can get those cameras up and running.
And for the record, we have a lump sum total of $52,500. And did you already state how many cameras?
No, but we have Matthew Hinkle here. He can speak to the RIT manager. He can speak to the number of cameras and where they'll be on.
Good afternoon. This is from the RFQ we opened last week. I believe it's 32 additional cameras. They're both for security and for operations. Some of them are a pilot program we're going to do at the lift stations to monitor the CSOs as well visually. But yeah, they will be located in the hallways of the buildings. We have no current coverage, some in the warehouse, some monitoring also the, what's called, the belt presses to see the levels there too.
All right, thank you. After hearing the overview and recommendation for 2.4, what is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, roll call for 2.4.
Commissioner Graves? Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the award of bid to VST Security Solutions for a not to exceed amount of $52,500 has been accepted.
Just have one question on that.
Yep.
Where's the monitoring of the cameras going to be? Have we decided where that's going to be at?
We discussed that we're going to provide monitoring to the guard check and or security desk. Also, the ones that are for operations they'll have access to that in operation, in the operator booth and the superintendent. And also just recording constantly, so as needed, full footage.
Thank you. Okay, and then next on the agenda, 2.5, I believe there was a recommendation for to table this item.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you.
Okay. Can we please have a motion? Motion's been made to table 2.5. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Graves? Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2.5 has been tabled. Next, we have 2.6.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We had, I wanted to make just a slight alteration to 2.6. There were 56 boxes that required approval, and there were 120 boxes that did not because they were reference material, copies of records, things like that. We had it was about 4,500 pounds of records. And that's it. I just wanted to make that correction. Any questions?
So the
Statute, a limitation on,
We use a retention schedule that was approved by the board many years ago, actually. And it depends on the kind of record it is. So general files, things, day-to-day routine files is 3 years. Things like claims is 10 years. We usually add a year just because it may be January to December, so you just, you don't count the individual months, you just go to the next month. But we do operate off a retention schedule.
Okay, and then, it's just the 56 boxes.
It's 56 boxes that require approval, and all the other boxes don't require any approval because they're just copies.
Okay.
Now, we are looking to hopefully move toward electronic record keeping, managing records electronically, because we have a lot of paper. A lot of paper.
And so we've got documents dating all the way back to 1997.
Yeah, we did today, and this back down to 1997. But we have records back to 1938, when they first started, the first resolution I had, but that's a permanent record. So some records you keep forever, and then others you follow the retention schedule for.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
After hearing the overview and recommendation for 2.6, what is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. If there are no further questions or comments?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Before we move on to claims, there was another individual that requested to speak but was out in the hall speaking with customer service.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind allowing them to speak before we move on to the next section.
That works. Can we get a roll call for 2.6?
Commissioner Graves? Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2.6 has been approved. Okay, so we will revisit the request to speak prior to coming to claims.
Yes, we have Mr. Daniel Rosario.
Yeah, Mr. Rosario. Of course. You're fine.
I'm feeling embarrassed. My first time here. I lost my wife to COVID 2021, and this was her rental property. And we had a tenant there, and she did not pay the sewer bill. It's like a $500, $600 sewer bill. I was speaking with Ms. Carter. She put me on a payment plan, but I was wondering if they could go after her, because if I play, this lady gets away with it. And I feel she should be held accountable. If you guys could go after her first, or give me some time, at least give me some more time. I don't want her to go on a lien. I'll pay you guys. The house is going into an estate, and I'm having trouble to pay to get it out of the state. And that's why I try to have no life insurance on my wife, not like that. I'm just trying to pay that. I'm having a rough time. I got an autistic daughter. I'm a Gary resident. I'm just trying to get caught up, and I'm at your mercy. She put me on the payment plan, and she took off the fees. But if you guys could help me, I really appreciate it. Try to go after her, because she should be held accountable. We should have these people held accountable. And that's all I got to say. Just if I could get more time and don't put it on a lien, and like keep me the payment plan, I really appreciate that. That's all I want to say.
Just responding real quick. Thank you so much for coming to the meeting today, and we appreciate you setting up the payment plan.
Yes.
As long as you're caught up, current in your payment plan, then we will not put a lien on the property.
Right. I just said, I don't want, she owes me, she did so much damages and so much stuff, and I was nice to the lady. I just, my family was, I just feel that, man, she should be held, they should be held accountable and pay for their own, and then they should go get water turned on somewhere else. It's really not fair to us. That's all I got to say.
Yes, and we do understand that that is, and we think we heard from all the landlords here the same concern about going after the tenant instead of the landlord. But per state law, all the Gary Sanitary can do is go to the owner of the property.
And I don't want you guys to get screwed over either, because you guys are providing service, and I understand where you guys are coming from, and you probably understand where I'm coming from, but it's just a hard thing, I just feel they should be held accountable. That's all I want to say. All right, thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Do we have any more requests, sir?
No, sir.
Next on the agenda brings us to claims, 3.1. Mr. Foster?
Thank you. I make a motion to approve GSD claim numbers 1015 through 1158 in the amount of $1,556.31.
Okay, we have a recommendation for approval for claims. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Thank you. A motion's been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on claims?
Yeah, I do have a question. I just noticed, Mr. Foster, that there's a couple of claims in here that goes back to 11/12 of '24, and there's one 10/9 of '24. And what was the invoices lost, or were they not submitted? And they're nice size invoices from the engineering firm. Familiar with that?
I believe you're referring to the American Structure Point?
Yeah.
Those were basically, we're catching up on those. There was some invoices that was being questioned. And so once those were approved, we put them in there for claims.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call for 3.1 claims.
Commissioner Graves? Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, claims have been approved in the amount of $1,556.31. Next, we have 3.2. This is the financial reporting. The period is from January 1st to 31st of this year. I don't think we need
No, just letting you know that those are in your board packets. It's for the first quarter, and making sure that you have those.
Okay. Does any of the members or commissioners have any comments or questions on the financial reporting? Okay. Next on the agenda, we have information updates, 4.1, superintendent's report, sorry about that. Mr. Austin, plant superintendent.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So coming up in a few weeks, starting June 10th, we'll be starting our operation certification training with the Alliance of Indiana Rural Water. It's going to be split up every other week so it can accommodate the two different shifts of operators who have operators in training who need to get certified, as well as experienced operators who just need to pass the test. So it's going to be 40 hours of class time, split up in 10 weeks, so about 5 classes per shift. And we already have the required materials and textbooks that they need to study from, and they'll get the homework from and all that. So we're hoping with this certification training, which will be in person in the boardroom as well as online in the conference room, they'll be able to pass their tests. So that's one thing for operations. And just a couple of line items for maintenance. We're doing tank cleaning. It's still tank cleaning season right now. And we also have in the works repairing our trash rack up front in Headworks, which we'll be doing in-house. That's all I have today.
Do any of the commissioners have any comments or questions for plant superintendent?
You had one question.
Mm-hmm.
We had a storm last night, right?
Yes, we did.
Was there any effect to the plant?
No, it was, the operators had to take cover for flying branches and things like that. But the rainfall, we didn't really get a flow higher than about 35 MGD. We didn't get that much flow coming into the plant. It was just a lot of wind, rain, a lot of wind and just stormy weather, but we didn't receive that here at the plant, interesting enough.
Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have 4.2, construction activities. Mr. Jabez Anderson, engineering.
Greetings, board. So this is an update of the Gary Sanitary District and Gary Stormwater Management District's construction projects. Lake Street is still holding steady. The final restoration is scheduled to be finished at the end of May. The the future plan is, of course, to complete that site restoration and the final work that's necessary to complete the project. The U.S. Highway 20 Complete Street project, the contractors are still coordinating with the utilities to get the relocations done. And then most of that utility work is close to being done. There's still a few things that need to be done as far as the old NIPSCO poles need to be removed, and then I believe the phone line or the fiber lines need to be relocated, and then there's still some Indiana American Water work that is being done there. The 27th and Chase Force Main Phase 3 project has just started. The contractor has received the notice to proceed. The mobilization is set roughly for January 2000, this year. And then we have two cave-in projects. That 4427 Kentucky Street is still waiting on the CIPP lining. And then at 433 Arthur Street is in the process of being repaired. So that's been, the contractor has been given a notice to proceed, and they are getting ready to mobilize to take care of that repair.
And then for the 27th and Chase Street Force Main Relocation Phase 3 project, just so to make the public aware, what avenue to what avenue is that project taking place?
So that would be 23rd Avenue to 19th Avenue.
Okay.
That's the final stretch of the project to connect into the manhole that's on 19th Avenue.
Okay, and this is projected to be a one-year project?
Correct, that is the
looks
current
like starting in
projection. Yes.
Okay, just for so the public can hear and understand. Do we have any questions for Mr. Anderson? Or comments? No? All right, thank you so much.
Mr.
Oh,
Anderson,
no.
just one question, and I know it's probably stormwater, and it's not on the agenda. Lake Street, what are we doing on Lake Street now? Punch list items, or?
Yeah, so these are final completion punch list items, such as that corner of Lake and Hemlock, I believe it is, that needs the concrete done. There's like light asphalt work that's being done, things of that nature. So just wrapping up the project, getting the seating done and all of that.
The streets are open?
Right now, the streets are open. When the project is done, they were planning to at least maintain one lane of traffic, so there's still some traffic flow up and down Lake Street while they're doing the work.
Because the next 2 weeks, it's going to be heavily traveled, right? People going to the beach. The next couple of weeks is going to be pretty heavily traveled over there, isn't it?
That I'm not sure of, most likely, for Memorial Day. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is discussion. Are there any topics or items that the commissioners would like to bring up or discuss at this time? Okay, hearing none. Since we already took care of the request to speak in the beginning of the meeting, is there a motion for adjournment?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
We got about 5 minutes, Mr. Earl.
With the motion and a second for adjournment, meeting has been adjourned. We're all here, so thank you all for being here. This is the Stormwater Management District meeting. Again, today's Friday, May 16th. Can we please have roll call?
Director William Allen.
Present.
Director Ola Morris. Director Maurice Mabon.
Present.
Director Frida Graves. Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Reagan Hatcher. Here. Finance Manager Jerome Foster.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
Thank you. With 4 directors present and 1 missing, we do have a quorum. Next is certification, which I'll read into the record. Pursuant to Indiana law, section 5-14-1.5 -6.1, I certify that prior to the start of today's meeting, there was an executive session held. Nothing discussed in the executive session. There was nothing discussed in the executive session that was not indicated on the posted notice. That being in compliance with Indiana statutes, there were no final votes held during the session. Does any director dissent? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to bid opening. Are there any missing bids that have not been turned in yet? Looks like we got a total of 3, sorry. Okay. I guess we'll be closing the bidding period, and now we'll be opening the bids. And this is for vegetation control for Gleason Park Golf Course?
Mr. President, I'd just like to say, yes, it is for vegetation control and also to work to ensure that stormwater is running properly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the first bid received is from Rough Hands Landscaping LLC, located in, let's see, 618 Mississippi. There's no city state. Yeah, it is Gary, okay. The total base bid submitted by Rough Hands Landscape LLC is for $186,000 even. Again, $186,000. Next bid is received from Walton's All Around Services. Walton's bid is in the amount of $234,000. The final bid is received from R&R Construction and Cleaning. R&R's bid is in the amount of $124,000 even. Mr. President, I would recommend that these bids be submitted to staff for review and further recommendation at our next meeting.
Okay. Okay. I did have a question, but it's fine.
If it's a question regarding the bid opening, we can do it right now.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious if this was the total cost for like the entire season. Is this 12 months or for like the work? I guess the time frame.
Yeah, so the time frame in the bid was from May to November, and November being the last cut. It was for, I believe, 18 instances, and so the cost have been break down by instance. So, you know, in the springtime, the grass grows quicker, so it's a weekly, and then after that, it's a bi-weekly cut. In the specifications, it was stated that they will only be paid for the instances that they cut. So this is the total for all of the instances, but then the payout will be pertaining, or basically, they will only pay for each instance that they come out and cut.
So the bid, the way it's submitted, is really in an amount not to exceed that figure. If there are
Correct.
fewer instances, it could be less.
Correct.
Right.
What about tree removal, if there's trees down in the property?
Correct. That's in the specifications as well. So that's a part of that total bid.
One more thing. You said per instance, so, is those prices locked?
Yes.
In other words, so 18, just divide that by 18, basically. Okay, we'll talk later.
You'll have to look at the actual bids in order to see what they bidded per instance. So, yeah, but it's actually structured in the request for quote. So you'll be able to see that in the table.
Thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda.
One last thing,
Yep.
Mr. Jabez, is there a retention pond on that property?
Yes. Yes, there is.
It is retention, it's not a hazard?
Yes.
Okay. So we probably should reverse this and make it stormwater retention project / landscaping, Gleason Park. Right. The retention pond. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you? Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the minutes. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the executive session and regular meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2025.
Motion's been made to accept the meeting minutes for May 2nd. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, roll call.
Director Graves? Director Maybach?
Yes.
Director Morris? Director Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the minutes for both the executive and regular meeting for May 2nd have been approved. Next, we have new business. 2.1, this is payroll, Mr. Foster.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve GSD. Actually, I recommend to make a motion to approve GSWMD, the payroll earnings for period ending April 7, 2025 through April 20th, 2025 in the amount of $9,466.95.
Thank you. We have a recommendation of approval for payroll in the amount of $9,466.95. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly second. Is there any discussion on payroll? Hearing none, roll call.
Director Graves? Director Maybach?
Yes.
Director Morris? Director Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, payroll has been approved. Next, we have 2.2.
Mr. President, I recommend that we approve that Met Sewer Plumbing and Pumping LLC do a repair at 35th and MLK in the amount not to exceed $78,160.
Thank you for the overview. We have a recommendation of approval for 2.2. What is the pleasure of the board?
We'll second it, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 2.2? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Director Graves? Director Maybach?
Yes.
Director Morris? Director Allen?
Yeah.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, point repair related work near the intersection of East 35th Place and Martin Luther King Drive in the amount of not to exceed of $78,160 for Met Sewer and Plumbing and Pumping LLC, has been approved. Next, we have claims, 3.1, Mr. Foster.
Thank you. I recommend a motion to approve GSWMD claims numbers 55 through 69 in amount of $32,041 $1,000,000.59.
Okay, we have a recommendation of acceptance of claims in the amount of $32,041.59. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and properly seconded for claims. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, for claims.
Director Graves? Director Maybach?
Yes.
Director Morris? Director Allen?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes with 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, claims in the amount of $32,041.59 have been approved. Next, we have 3.2. This is for information purposes only. This is for our financial reporting document, period ending January 1st through March 31st of the year 2025. Do we have any questions or comments on this item for the director? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to information updates. We have 4.1 MS4 department updates. Ms. Brenda Scott Herring.
Good afternoon, board and staff and attendees. Just a couple of updates I have for you. We did have a delegation of board members and staff who attended the MS4 annual meeting on Monday and Tuesday. So we have individuals who have completed the inspection training, as well as those who, I hope you earned some CEUs while you were there. Yep. And a series of classes that were held on the second day. And of course, there were plenty of vendors there. Can't wait to hear from staff on the new technology and information that was shared so that we can start incorporating those best management practices into the work that we do here in the city of Gary. I attended the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative annual meeting that was held in Milwaukee, hosted there this year. That's a delegation of mayors and premiers who are in the United States and Canada, who come together to do what they can do to protect the Great Lakes. Lots of coverage, lots of press about the challenges that we have with our water and the tariffs and all of those things that are going on, but that the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative have agreed to stand together to continue to work together collaboratively to protect our Great Lakes. And then finally, I just want to announce, I got an email just yesterday or today that the IDEM has notified us that we will have our audit sometime in September. I need to get with Director Hatcher so that we can identify dates in which we can do the audit. So I'm thinking maybe middle or the end of September. That gives us more time to pull things together. Now, this is on the construction and post-construction. So it's just not what we do here at the district, but how we handle those permits in collaboration with the city. So, and how we've done inspection, how we're doing enforcement, how we're documenting everything, our files in order. And then they will do a few site visits. So I just want to notify the public, we'll be going around looking at our construction sites that are in place and inspecting them to make sure that they are following their stormwater pollution prevention plan. If we get any calls, you guys support us because we need to make sure that we are in compliance and then that people out in the field are doing the work that they're supposed to do. So we will be shaking up things a little bit, all right? That's all I have. If you have any questions, just, I'll be happy to respond.
Do we have any comments or questions?
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have discussion. Are there any topics or items that need to be discussed by the directors at this time? Okay, hearing none. Are there any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? All right, thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.